probably
Okay,
a pair of them.
that's so funny. This whole time I've been hearing it and I've been thinking, is there drilling outside her house? They're doing something in the foundation. Something's happening. That's hilarious. I
Yeah,
just
it's the
suddenly clued
pugs.
in and it's like it's a snoring dog.
Yeah, I
That's
suppose
great.
to catch everybody up, I live with roommates. Everyone in the house has a
Has a
dog of
dog.
their own, and the
You
roommates have pugs.
put a
Yeah,
ride it off the rails there, but
it's all
I
right.
had to have confirmation of
Oh
that.
yeah,
That's what it
yeah,
is,
snoring
yeah.
dogs. Yep. Mhm.
Well,
Yeah, those
cool.
I can't turn off.
I'm totally glad that you're getting involved in the convention scene because I think that's how you learn, like, it's how you network, right? It's how you learn
Hmm.
about opportunities and stuff. So
Yeah, and
I think
it
it's
seems
great.
to be where I'm gonna find myself, my fit.
Yes.
Because I've been reading a lot, I've been listening to a lot of podcasts and stuff, and I gotta walk back a couple of things where like I remember the first time we talked, I was really like reluctant to call myself an artist. Like I wanted to call myself an illustrator, and that seems less apt now because like I have to go. I'm an illustrator and a graphic designer and I do sculpture and I do painting. I'm an artist. Just we'll just cover it
Yeah.
with that. But
Yeah.
I'm not really a fine artist. I'm still kind of
No.
doing like I'm not going to find my home in the gallery system.
No. No.
So
And
so that's sort of
I think it's smart to
yeah.
know that,
Hmm.
you
So I
know.
mean, my world is with people who are into that stuff. Sort of, it's I guess it's somewhat more ephemeral. I'm looking at a thing. I'm looking at Mario, who's posted over my computer's shoulder. So now I'm making eye contact with him instead of you. Sorry, but the yeah, pop art is a thing
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
uh,
Well, I call it
that
the merch artists. I call you guys
uh-huh.
the merch artists just because it's commercial art.
Hmm.
It's commercial and it is getting elevated into galleries in certain
Yeah.
venues. But it's still analog, right? It's still
Hmm.
actual painting that they're having shows about with commercial art. But yeah,
Yeah. And I
I
mean, like I don't know, fan art is weird. And I still have a weird relationship with it. I still do it, but I don't want it to be like the primary thing that I do. But I think it's important because it's culture. I mean, pop culture becomes culture. Like Sherlock Holmes is it sits sort of weirdly in the middle of all of that, because it's really old, but it's pop culture. It's pulp. It like that's what it was. It was published in a magazine to begin with. So, um, but it's canon. It's canonized. They call it the canon. So like it's um I don't know. So like I think it's important and I don't want to devalue it. I do a lot of, like self-deprecating kind of, as we all do, I guess. Talk kind of down about the work we do and what its value is, but like I don't know, this stuff is important. I'm not 100% sure why, but I know that it is because we're all talking about it, you know?
Well, I mean, I think you're connecting to mythological energies when you talk
Yeah.
about these
Okay.
characters, right? Like
Hmm.
that's what it is. Like they're just the masks of God, right? The masks
Okay.
of our powers as human beings, and coming into connection to and then integrating those powers into our lives.
Hmm.
That's all of this stuff is all, it's mythological. It's
Hmm.
us being superhuman. It's just human, you know?
Hmm.
I think it is. I'm
Okay.
exactly on board with you. I think it's
Yeah.
vitally important and it's very ephemeral. Um, and you can't deny that connection that that passionate, oh, I want to have in my life
Hmm.
that people have in reaction to certain things. And it's always,
Right.
you can never guess what people are going to connect to. It's their own internal
Hmm.
stuff. But I'm with you. I think it's vitally
Hmm.
important, what you're creating.
Yeah.
Now, how do you feel about Patreon?
I am excited about Patreon. I am patronizing a friend of mine and also someone I admire
Nice.
um, so far, and I have my stuff written out
Good.
to do my
It's
own.
perfect for you, right? It's
Yeah,
perfect.
I want to make sure that I'm offering enough in the world before I ask for something like this, though. So
I
I want to
agree.
make sure that I've got a daily practice that puts stuff in the world as often as I possibly can and
Right.
as at high a quality as I possibly can.
Yeah.
Like when I did harvest, and I did the cauldron meditation.
Right.
My three words for the year are volume, participation, and craftsmanship.
Oh,
Um,
neat.
and those three things, like that's when I feel better about those things, when I feel like I'm really like when I've got that stuff dialed in, then I will start working toward launching my Patreon. But until then, I don't feel comfortable. I don't feel comfortable asking for patronage yet.
Fair enough.
I want to make sure that my student phase, which is what I feel like I'm in right now, is I kind of feel like I'm a student of being an artist. Like I want to kind of graduate first, you know? I guess that's
Sure.
sort of how I feel about it.
Okay. Sure, whatever you like.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think there's any value in you putting out a Patreon if you don't, if you feel uncomfortable about it. That's gonna
Hmm.
give that's gonna be the exact wrong vibe for a
Right. Yeah.
Patreon. You know, please, support me.
Like I'm not ready yet, but
I'm not
maybe if you
ready.
feel like
Yeah,
giving me money. Yeah. So yeah,
yeah, terrible.
everything in its own time, I
Yeah,
guess.
for sure, for sure. I just don't want people to not do a Patreon because they're afraid that they won't get a lot of people right away. Because I
Hmm.
keep telling people, you won't get a lot of people right away. Like,
Right.
if you already don't have thousands and thousands of followers on your website, you're not going to get a lot of people, and you need to get over it. You know, put it
Yeah.
up there and promote it, and you'll grow supporters. That's how it works. Don't be sad that you've got four people and one of them's your mom. It's okay.
Right.
Well, where are you going to start? Like, we don't all
Yeah.
get to start off at super successful.
Right.
Start off at the beginning because that's where it starts, you know?
Definitely.
So, oh,
And I
well,
don't think
that's
there's
neat.
anything wrong with having like, 20 bucks a month in patronage because that's a meal. Like that's a
It's a
meal or
start.
two. Like
Yeah.
yeah.
It's replacement pens, you know?
Hmm. Yeah.
It's whatever, that's 20 bucks you didn't have. And better than
Right.
a kick in the pants, as my
Mm.
mom says. But
Better than a sharp stick in the eye.
that's worse.
That's Brad's one.
Really.
Yeah.
That's,
Better than a sharp stick in the
I don't
eye.
like that at all.
I'm,
I just I'm feeling very vulnerable now.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. It's
Me,
okay.
in the email you asked me what the weirdest thing I found in Harvest was.
Was it the weirdest or the most surprising? Oh yeah, surprising or weird. Because
Okay.
there's always to me surprises every year. I'm
Mm.
just like, oh crap, I didn't. Oh, that was totally not what I thought, or whatever.
Right.
What was yours this year?
Okay, so I've got two.
Okay.
The first one's pretty easy because of when and how Pod tanked. Um, Cafe Press did better than Zazzle by a significant margin for the first time in 5 years, which
Really?
was that's new.
Huh.
In spite of the fact that my score went down in in third quarter, it was the weirdest thing ever. I think it's partly due to the fact that Zazzle is changing directions and they are focusing a lot of their marketing on custom products that don't have anything to do with us designers who are doing their t-shirts and stuff
Oh,
like that.
okay.
They're it's a weird shift in their business model that I have zero control over. Um,
Hmm.
I have some plans that I'm gonna do to kind of adjust for that, like mostly kind of getting into their paper goods and stuff like that for the coming year. But I was sort of shocked by
Hmm.
how much. Like ultimately, it didn't affect my total like pod numbers over the course of the year because I also added Redbubble last year, so that was a thing.
Okay.
But that was weird good times. Like once again, pod is weird and it takes forever and it's really capricious. So
And you've brought up my whole big question mark in the print on demand arena. that now you've opened the door, you have to answer.
Okay.
You're on Zazzle and Cafe Press and
Yes.
Redbubble
And T Public.
and T Public, which I've never even heard of before.
I know. Well, they emailed me and they were like, they emailed me in the middle of December and they were like, we want you to be on T Public. We'll feature you. I was like, okay. So I did. And
Okay,
that
and
was
then
a little,
there's Society 6, but you're not on there.
I am, but I'm not updating a lot.
Okay, so you're on
Um,
all of them.
oh yeah.
What the fuck? Okay,
What the fuck?
what the fuck? Like is what's the upside to being on all of them? And
They,
and do you do different products on each of them, or do you replicate products across POD
the way that
outlets?
the way that I do it is I do the same product line on all of them.
Really?
Um, yeah. And part of that it has to do with what my working method has been since forever, which is do a thing really fast and put it up in as many places as possible and be seen by as many people as you can. Um, I am probably going to have to readjust that for a couple of reasons. Firstly, um, Cafe Press has offerings now that none of the others have, and they never have before, that
Like,
are different from the kind of work that I've been doing. So, like, I mostly do character design,
yeah.
put it on a t-shirt, put it up. Well, now they've got like scarves that are full bleed, for instance.
So you can do
So,
actual pattern, you can do material art and
yeah,
design.
and Zazzle has the same thing. They're also doing a lot of full bleed stuff now. So like it
Ah.
sort of changes what I want to do. Now also Society 6 and Redbubble both do mugs that are full bleed. Like
Ah.
really? Like that would could because like Zazzle is weird. They've got this little top and bottom white thing that looks funny.
Yeah.
So I always just do character designs, put them on the mugs. They look fine.
Right.
Um but now you can do backgrounds. It's like, ooh, that's new and exciting. So like it's changing a lot.
Huh.
And it's probably going to change my approach. Like I said, Zazzle's business model's changing, um, and they like if you look at their front page, you can see what they're emphasizing now. They're emphasizing like stuff that doesn't have anything to do with the designers, and also paper goods. So, and I haven't gone any like I haven't done any paper goods at all with like any kind of earnestness, partly because I had always imagined that I would want to sort of reserve that kind of design for traditional licensing. And that's the other weird thing that happened in Harvest for me is that looking at my big list of stuff that I didn't do this year. So here's my list of all of the pieces that I made, and it has check marks, all the ones that I finished. So I started 105 pieces, and like the nine that I didn't finish were all in service of my licensing portfolio that I didn't
You
send out.
I remember you saying that.
So
That's
I,
interesting.
yeah, I mean, and like I said, I gave myself a lot of latitude this year to do whatever. As long as I was paying my bills, I figured I could just keep exploring. And like, okay, I was like, all right, I got to sit down and do a licensing something. And then like I would kill that whole day scrolling Tumblr instead. Like I kept putting it off.
Okay,
Like,
now let me ask you, because that's why I'm here. I have to ask.
mhm,
Is it fear? Is it bad timing? Is it I'm a student now, so I'm not gonna do that yet?
yeah.
Okay.
I think it's a big combination of all of that.
All right.
Um, like I'm not going to give it up entirely as a concept. One thing that I'm not going to do is I'm not going to reserve posting on print on demand in service of this licensing portfolio that may or may not actually come to be because I keep resisting it.
Yeah.
Like I my my philosophy has sort of turned into just do the thing,
Yeah.
you know? So, like, if there's something that's stopping me from doing the thing a particular way, find another way to do the thing and do the thing. So, if I've got fear as a block for this whole licensing thing, but I've already got myself established in all this print on demand stuff, then start putting stuff on print on demand.
Yeah.
Um, I can still put that stuff in my portfolio. They may not want it because it's here, but that's okay because at least I'll have that practice.
And there's
you
nothing to
know?
say
And
that if like if a licensing agent was looking at it, that it couldn't just simply be pulled off and be used. You know what I mean?
sure, there's
Uh,
there's a lot of talk in the forums of on-demand stuff about that sort of thing. They're like, there's a lot of like hand wringing about this. A lot of like, oh well, if I put stuff on print on demand, is anybody gonna, am I a sullied bride? Sort of talk about like whether or not print on demand and traditional licensing can live together. And that seems to be going away mostly, I think, because print on demand is kind of winning. So I mean, I don't know.
I don't
But
know.
I do know
Everything's
that
changing so quickly. Like, licensing has the opportunity to give much bigger single return.
hmm
You know what I mean?
yeah.
Um, and I would question you if 4 years from now you're still saying I'm resistant to licensing.
hmm
We'll have to have a deeper discussion.
Yeah.
I think there's nothing wrong with that right now. Do you
hmm
know what I mean? Like you're just doing what you're doing. I think understanding why you're resistant to the licensing is important though. That's
hmm
all that I'm saying.
Yeah.
You
And I'm
know?
still working on that. I have like I'm not about to put it to bed yet because I know it would work if like I think I sent inquiries out to like I don't know, like maybe two or three last year, which is not a lot. It's certainly not a lot to get any kind of data about like what my rejection rate is. It's just not enough data. Um,
Right.
like it's you know, so I don't think I'm done, but I feel like I need to do something to unstick that. And if making something for the licensing portfolio is my sticking point, then I need to do something about that.
Yeah.
And if that means, okay, well, that's a line I'm not working on Zazzle, so maybe I should because I know that'll work. Like I
Right.
know with 100% certainty that if I put stuff in there, that's going to work. So why not, And then I'll have a portfolio. Like
And who
done.
knows how, like, some people have success with the licensing. That might not ever be an avenue that you go down because something
Sure.
else comes along. You know what I
Right. I
mean?
mean,
Like, for all we know, you could end up in 5 years um, getting your products created from China and shipped, and you're selling wholesale to. Do you know what I mean? Like, who the
yeah.
fuck knows how this is all gonna turn out? You know?
Right. Right. But the thing that will definitely keep that from happening is continuing to not do the work. Like do the thing
Do the
is
thing. You're
all. Do the
right.
thing.
Do the thing.
So,
Make the thing. Make the thing
yeah.
is you're right. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Are you familiar with Emily McDowell?
The name sounds familiar. I
Okay,
feel like I
well,
just read her name somewhere.
I just posted a link about her.
Oh,
She's
maybe it was you.
she's my like I have a current girl crush on her. I want to be buds. Just because
Oh yeah, you did.
I see a lot of like totally different. You guys don't have the same styles at all, but just the way
hmm
her life turned into suddenly she has a business where she's responsible for getting all the products made. Like it's
Yes.
just ringing bells of similarities
Yeah.
across the two entrepreneurs right
That's
now.
so funny because when you posted this, like it was you. That was why I've heard her name before. I was gonna leave a comment on your thing being like, I want to be her when I grow up.
Well,
Because like,
right, and
yeah.
that's what I'm getting is the similarities that run
hmm
through, and so like who the fuck knows? She's not licensing.
Fuck.
Listen, I just that's who knows? Who knows? Like
Right.
that could be you. Instead of going licensing, you're the
hmm
actual business of creating the product. You're
Right.
clearly
And
into the hands-on. I don't see that like that's not a stretch either.
right, totally. And like I sort of feel that more like in terms of sort of where I sit with people. Like one of the things Tara Reid said this in one of her like licensing podcasts about
Oh, Tara Reid, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, the art licensing
Yeah, the art licensing
person.
lady. Yeah.
She said at some point like you have to be really comfortable with the idea of consumerism.
Yeah.
And I went,
Oh, interesting.
um, because like in order to just put your like I don't know, it didn't ring for me. It was just like put your crap on anything and anything, which is so weird because like it's kind of what I've been doing this whole time with Zazzle, kind of. Except that their stuff is printed in the USA and it's like people are
Right.
looking like doing long tail searches for like really specific stuff.
Right.
Like you don't, like
Well, that's just
you're
it.
never gonna
Like,
you're
did
never
you,
gonna sell a Badger on 100,000 mugs in Marshalls or whatever, you know?
right, right,
Like,
right.
but that happened. Well, that didn't happen, but it will.
Well, did
Um,
you were you on the call with Derek Wicks on his
mhm,
licensing call? Because
yeah,
like he brought up that same thing. Do I want my art on toilet seats? Do I want my art on gun racks? He's
right.
like he wanted to maintain control over where his art was used, and he would never
Mhm,
just license it to be used wherever. And
right.
that is a real legitimate concern about where your art goes in the licensing field and what you're signing up for.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
Yeah, and so like yeah, having some kind of like an extra modicum of control is definitely appealing.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
yeah, like her whole story about like suddenly becoming like a wholesaler of her own goods, Emily McDowell,
Yeah.
is like yeah, that was super exciting. Like
Yeah.
that idea. Um like I always have this I don't know, part of like my dream, part of like my vision for my the trajectory of my career is someday I want to employ people. Like
Ah, interesting.
that's
Yeah.
um so the idea of kind of having my own like printing house in addition to whatever other work is like
Right.
that stuff like yeah, that gets me really excited. That's like yes. Yes, I would love to do that. So, yeah, so, I don't know, maybe licensing will never happen because other stuff will,
Yeah.
and I'm
Yeah,
okay with that.
exactly.
Like
Yeah.
everything feels wide open right now, and it's really exciting.
That's
So
cool.
yeah,
Cool. Good. Okay. Great. Let's I'm totally on board. I'm on board with that. Like this is your it's your career and you know best. You know,
mm,
seriously. Like just 'cause someone's saying, "Oh, but licensing." Oh, but licensing. You're like, "Well, no, not right now. Maybe
mm,
later." All of
mm,
that's stick to your guns.
yeah, yeah,
Okay. Um, well, I think that's the thing.
good, yes, yay.